All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Bree Kimberline. I am a nurse here at North Kansas City Hospital in community health and wellness. So thank you for joining us today. I'm excited for our presentation, Stress and its Effects on the Brain. I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently stress is a universal thing. Everybody experiences it. So it can have significant impacts on our brain function, influencing everything from memory, concentration, to emotional regulation, our overall mental health. Understanding how stress affects the brain is crucial for developing effective strategies to manage it and maintain it. Today, we will explore the science behind stress and the neurological effects, providing you with some valuable insights with my friend Stephanie here, and some practical tips to better cope with stress in your daily lives. So let me tell you about Stephanie. She's my brain gal. She's my brain guru. She is a dedicated and experienced speech language pathologist who has been practicing since 2009. Stephanie has worked in various settings, primarily focusing on acute care and outpatient rehab for adults. In 2021, Stephanie founded the virtual brain injury support group through North Kansas City Hospital. This group meets monthly and has served over 45 individuals from Missouri all the way to California who are recovering from concussions. She's passionate about sharing information with the community and has been featured several times at conferences, including the KU Concussion Symposium, STEM Saturdays at Union Station, the Kansas Speech and Hearing Association, as well as here, Community Health and Wellness. She's done several presentations for us, so make sure you go back to our YouTube channel later and check out all of Stephanie's past events. When she's not at work, Stephanie enjoys spending time with her husband and her two children, Owen and Mia, and cheering for the Oregon Ducks. So please help me welcoming, yay! Please help me in welcoming Stephanie. If you have questions, the chat is open and the Q&A is open, so throw them in there. And take it away, friend.
Thanks. So welcome, everybody. I am very excited to be presenting on this topic. I think it's very applicable to everyone. Just having gone through the holiday season, some of the things that are happening in the news, stress is definitely all around us. And while we cannot completely control stress, I think having an understanding of how it impacts us and specifically our brain can help us take some steps in the right direction. So definitely a good way to start out the year. So today I am going to be talking about stress and how it impacts the brain, talking about chronic stress specifically, and then we're going to go into some functional stress management strategies. So hopefully you leave today with some new ideas and things that you can start implementing right away. So stress is defined as a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from an event or a thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. Stress factor can also be called a stressor, and it's your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. So in short bursts, stress is actually pretty positive because it can help keep us safe, it can help us avoid danger, it can help us meet deadlines, but when it lasts for a long time, it does have the potential to harm us. So we're going to talk about different kinds of stress because not all stress is created the same. So we do have good stress, which is the experience of rising to a challenge, taking a risk, and feeling rewarded by an often positive outcome. We then move into the next level, which is tolerable stress, which is when bad things happen, but we can cope with it, often with the support of family, friends, other individuals. And we often think of this tolerable stress as leading to growth experiences, and kind of these learning opportunities. And then we move into the area of toxic stress, which is when bad things happen and we have limited support, or we have impairments in self-control, judgment, self-esteem that makes it very difficult to cope with stress. A lot of times our coping and what people often refer to as resilience, are things that are developed very early in life. So we might be, our reactions to stress and different stressors might be heavily influenced by experiences we had in childhood, when our brain was kind of shaping its emotional and physiological response to different stressors. So 7 common sources of stress are things like feeling under pressure, facing big changes in your life. Maybe you're worried about something, feeling like we have a lack of control over an outcome of a situation, having responsibilities that we find overwhelming, maybe missing work, activities, or change in your life. Maybe you don't have enough change and you feel like you're in a rut. Experiencing discrimination, hate, or abuse, or going through a period of just general uncertainty. Those are all ways that we can, have stress impacting us. So I want you to take a moment right now and think about maybe what is impacting you most in your life. Where do you feel like the stress is coming from? And it might change. I feel like we all go through different seasons of life where maybe one part of our life is functioning really well. And then we might have, another season of life where that same area has more challenges associated with it. So think about what's impacting you right now, and then maybe check in with yourself with that same question, a week, a month down the line, and see if that answer has changed. A lot of times we can't do anything about something unless we were able to name it and identify it. So naming or identifying where your stress is coming from can be the first step in feeling like you have some control over that. So some signs of stress that you might experience, particularly if you are dealing with some of that toxic or chronic stress, you might have disturbed sleep. So either trouble falling asleep or trouble staying asleep. You might experience increased fatigue, body aches, pain, anxiety, irritability, tension, and even headaches. So all of those things are probably signs that your body is dealing with something. There is no medical test for stress levels. A lot of it is just very subjective, and things that you might just mention to your doctor, if you're struggling with it. But there's no test that we give. We just go by what a patient is feeling and kind of identify maybe that this is a factor in what's going on with them. So in the body, we have stress hormones that get released when we sense danger. These are epinephrine and norepinephrine. So in the short term, these hormones increase our blood pressure, they speed up our heart rate, and they raise our blood sugar levels. So just really amp us up, like to deal with whatever situation is either in front of us or is perceived to be happening. If you have these hormones and they are being released in a chronic nature, they can lead to digestive problems. They can lead to problems with fertility. They can lead to urinary problems, a weakened immune system, all kinds of things that can go wrong just by having these stress hormones present. In the body, in the brain, the part of our brain that helps us process these threatening situations is called the amygdala. And in people who are chronically stressed, they've done research on this, that area of the brain can appear larger. And areas of the brain that are involved in things like rational thought, planning, problem solving, decision making, all those higher level cognitive processes that happen in things like the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex, those areas of the brain start to appear smaller. So this, threat response portion of the brain really takes over. And I have an article there linked if you are so inclined and you'd like to dive in even deeper to the neuroanatomy of stress, because it is very interesting when you look at it. So we also have neural circuitry in the brain that is impacted by stress. So neural circuitry meaning the way that our brain's neurons fire and process and pass on information from one to the next. So, excuse me, stress can actually cause an imbalance in this circuitry, which then in turn affects our mood, our decision making, and our anxiety levels. Basically, the brain becomes more rigid, less able to adapt, and that affects our ability to, again, problem solve, think of alternate solutions, and basically makes us less resilient. We're not able to think around a problem. We're just stuck. We're kind of in this block. And that feeling of being stuck or in a block, a lot of times it is all the way down to the anatomy. Then those neural circuits are just not firing the way we would expect them to. So functionally, what do these physiologic changes lead to? So functionally, in our day-to-day life, we might see changes in our memory, changes in our ability to concentrate. Again, that fatigue. You know, a lot of patients that I see in therapy who have gone through a very traumatic situation, maybe it's a concussion, maybe it's a stroke, they often have a lot of stress in their life, and they often have a lot of fatigue as well. And it's because their brain is really working harder to do the same thing that it was doing before. Some people find it very difficult to learn new information, to process information quickly. They might have difficulty making decisions. They might show poor judgment. They might have some depression or anxiety as a result. And, you know, really it's because our brain is in this fight or flight response from the stress. It perceives a danger, and its only instinct is survival. So all of those higher level thought processes, which are, you know, not essential to survival, just kind of get put on the back burner. So your brain is just focused on surviving. It's not going to spend any time, any energy on those higher level thought processes. And I thought it was really interesting when I was doing research on stress that the stress response in men versus women is very different. So in reporting stress, women are more likely to report feeling sad, anxious, overwhelmed, or fatigued. And they also tend to report that they're having trouble sleeping, or maybe that they overeat when they're stressed. Women also tend to use emotion-focused coping strategies like self-distraction, emotional support, and venting. Men have stronger responses in the prefrontal cortex, while women have stronger responses in the limbic region. Women produce more oxytocin, which can promote relaxation and social interaction, while men produce vasopressin, which can promote aggression and risk-taking. Women tend to internalize stress, which can lead to mental and physical disorders, while men tend to externalize stress through aggression and impulsivity. So these are just very general, you know, findings from preliminary research, but I did think it was important to note that stress responses are going to have gender differences. Another common question that I get from patients is, does stress cause dementia? So in, you know, just general, no, stress does not cause dementia. However, chronic stress might be a factor in the development or the progression of dementia. So if you have a lot of stress, then maybe your dementia risk will go up, or your risk of worsening your dementia will go up. And why is that? So again, we're going back to some more hormones. So when you're stressed, your body also releases cortisol, which affects your brain and memory. It impacts your immune system, and there's been research that shows immunity, inflammation definitely play a role in dementia. Other conditions like depression, anxiety also have been associated through research with an increased risk of dementia. Stress is related to hypertension and those vascular factors. So a lot of times I'll tell my patients heart health equals brain health. So if we're doing things that are good for our heart, it's good for our brain. If we're doing things that are going to lead to difficulties with our heart, then it will affect our brain as well. And then again, what they have found is these changes in the hippocampus, that inner portion of the brain is very important for higher level thinking, memory, that gets smaller, and that they have shown deposits of proteins in the brains that can be markers of Alzheimer's disease. So stress does not cause dementia. If you are stressed, it does not mean that you are going to get dementia. But I would say if you are already predisposed to getting dementia later in life, stress is not going to do you any favors. So being aware of that and doing some things to help manage your stress. So let's talk about that, because that is important. So when we think about managing stress, and we're going to go into each of these together, the big ones are things like self-care, having a healthy sleep pattern, increasing exercise and a healthy diet, having positive self-talk and managing some of those psychological symptoms like depression and anxiety, setting boundaries, and then using relaxation techniques to help cope. So let's go into those and take a deep dive. So when we think about self-care, we really want to make sure we're spending, time on ourselves, and that we are staying connected with others. We're staying connected with ourselves. We're checking in with ourselves. How am I doing? Again, kind of asking that question, where is the stress coming from in my life right now, and what can I do about that? Spending time making sure that we have a balanced diet, meal planning, making sure that we're getting our fruits and vegetables, and we're limiting those, trans fats, saturated fats. Again, with diet, I always say heart health equals brain health. So if you're going to be thinking about a diet, really think about what's going to be healthy for your heart. You might also have heard of the MIND diet. It's very Mediterranean based. So if anyone is interested to learn more, you could definitely Google that. Sleep, very important. It's really the time for our brain to rest, relax, to kind of file away all of that learning and information that we had for the day. So if we don't get good sleep, then that doesn't happen. Our aim should be, in general, 8 hours per night. However, again, I have done some research, and there are gender differences in that as well. Women tend to need more sleep than men. And, thinking about sleep, it's not just when you go to sleep and when you wake up, it's also the quality of sleep. So how much you're waking up in the night. So in general, we say trying to maintain a consistent sleep and wake cycle. So going to bed and waking up plus or minus about 20 minutes at the same time every day. Also trying to create a relaxing environment. Maybe turning the clock around if you're a clock watcher, keeping a nice temperature, keeping animals out of their bedroom if they're, prone to come and wake you up at night. If you have different sleep issues, it would definitely be good to talk to a doctor about that, because a lot of people struggle with, for example, sleep apnea, and that is something that can be treated and then help your quality of sleep. Also thinking about your caffeine consumption during the day, limiting naps, and getting good exercise, which is our next point, can help your sleep. So exercise, we suggest aiming for a minimum of 30 minutes on most days. If you feel like that's too much all at once, breaking it up into 3 10-minute sessions can be easier. And it doesn't involve a gym membership. You don't have to do anything crazy. You don't have to run a marathon. You know, doing chores around the house can be exercise. Dancing can be exercise. Yoga, we're going to talk a little bit about meditation, but incorporating that in can kind of be working double duty. Walking and talking on the phone at the same time. You know, I know it's been really cold here, so haven't had a chance to do a lot of outdoor walks, but maybe going to a mall or an indoor place that you can walk. You know, your local community center is a great option as well. So really just trying to incorporate more movement into your day. So next we're going to move on to self-talk. So when we are faced with a stressful situation, it's very easy to have a lot of negative self-talk. Oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? I'm not going to be able to handle this. This is too much. I can't do this. And I think if we go into it with that kind of a mentality, our brain is already thinking failure. You know, I'm not going to be able to do this. If you say you won't, chances are you won't. So I think that first and foremost, if you're faced with a stressful situation, trying to do your best to stay positive, acknowledging the good parts of your day or life. So in general, I think it's very easy to remember the bad stuff. So if somebody asks you how your day went, you're automatically going to think about those bad things. But really taking some time at the end of your day to think about what good things happened to me today, because I'm sure in every day you can find something good that happened. You might have some challenges, but there's also some good things as well. And taking a moment to really give yourself credit and think about what you have accomplished as opposed to focusing on what you haven't. So when we think about stress and that feeling of overwhelm, of not being able to accomplish your responsibilities, chances are you've done more than you think you have. And if you're not sure about that, sometimes making a list of things that you want to get done, goals, to-do lists, can make it feel like you're accomplishing more because it's right there, concrete, written out for you. Also, breaking things up into smaller chunks can sometimes be better than just trying to attack a situation head on. If we can separate it out, it becomes less daunting, it becomes less time consuming, and a lot of times we know a little bit better about where to start. So think about breaking a larger, more daunting task. For example, I need to buy a new car. My vehicle is done. How can I do that? That's a big task, right? And very stressful for a lot of people. So instead of just like going at it, I'm going to buy a new car, maybe I think, okay, what's step one? Step one, I need to research maybe what types of vehicles I need or want. And I also need to research my finances. What can I afford? So by doing those two things, it's automatically going to help guide you into your next step, which might be visiting some different car dealerships to take some test drives. So just kind of breaking things down. Also, accepting you can't control everything. That is really hard for a lot of people, but I often will talk to my patients about spheres of control. So the sphere of control, I have complete control over it. Might be what I wear. I can absolutely control what I wear every day. You know, what I put on my body. Then you might have the next bigger sphere, which is things that you have some control over. So some control might be what my children wear. So I can lay clothes out for them, but they can choose whether they wear that or whether they pick something else. And then things that you have absolutely no control over whatsoever, things like the weather that's been impacting us here recently. We have no control over the weather. So although, it has been stressful, trying to let it go and really think about what you can control. And if those thought processes are challenging for you, really consider talking to a therapist or your healthcare provider, because they can often give you some tools and some things to help manage that, to be able to cope a little bit better. And then finally, we're thinking about setting boundaries. So I talked a little bit about setting goals a moment ago. That can really help, again, feel like you're more in control. A lot of times what I'll tell patients is sit down once a week or once a month, whatever time frame works best for you, and do a mind sweep. So all those things that you have on your mind, just write them down. Get them down on paper. It could be 50 things, it could be 100 things. Just write until you're like, okay, I think that's everything. And then looking at that list, then you can determine what things are priority one that you need to take care of right away, what things maybe have lower priority that you can put on the back burner for later. But it's a way for you to take the burden off of your brain and to feel like you're more in control. If you find that you're doing a lot of that worrying and stressing at night, I will suggest keeping a notebook by your bed and doing that same thing. If you have something pop up, write it down. Having it written down, again, takes the burden off of your brain. And then the hardest thing, I think, for all of us is learning to say no. If you feel like you are busy or stressed, taking on additional responsibilities is the last thing you need. So really protecting yourself, doing something that your future self is going to thank you for. So you might ask yourself, is my future self going to really appreciate that I volunteered to run the bake sale? Or is it going to be one more thing on my plate that I'm super stressed out about? And maybe that changes again over time. You might have the capacity to take on more while someone else can't, and vice versa. So really identifying where you're at, identifying your support system, and really laying out that boundary can be helpful for your stress level. So now we're going to move into some relaxation strategies. And I just love these. I think if we all did these every day, we would just feel so much better. And a lot of them don't take very long. So we're going to run through these together. And then I will just encourage you to maybe figure out which ones you like the most and incorporate those into your day. So the first one we're going to do together is box breathing. So this involves starting by sitting up in a chair or a comfortable position. And you are going to be inhaling for a count of 4, then holding for a count of 4, exhaling for a count of 4, and then holding for a count of 4. So that's where the box comes in, 4, 4, 4, 4. And if you feel like the 4 is too long, you can always shorten it, or if you feel like it's too easy, you can lengthen it. It really doesn't matter. The goal is to establish that deep diaphragmatic breath that can help lower our heart rate, lower that stress response. And we want to also be mindful of breathing deep in our belly. So filling the bottom of your lung with air instead of just breathing really shallow, kind of that clavicular breathing, we call it. So one way you can check on this is while you're doing the exercise, you can place one hand on your chest and one hand on your stomach, and you should really feel your stomach hand moving quite a bit while your chest remains relatively still. So really try to feel that diaphragm expanding and contracting. So let's try this together. So I will count out loud, and we're going to do 3 cycles here. So we're going to breathe in and out once for free. So inhale, And then exhale. A lot of times I'll say inhale through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. And we're going to inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. So good. Hopefully you are feeling more relaxed already. But box breathing, deep diaphragmatic breathing, all of that, very, very good for your brain and your body. Next, we're going to go to what we call progressive muscle relaxation. And this is just a fancy word for saying we are trying to relax each of the muscles in our body, starting with the feet and then going all the way up the body to the face and the head. So at the end of this, you should feel very relaxed. Every muscle should feel relaxed. This is a really good one to do if you are laying awake in bed and you're having trouble falling asleep. You might find that you don't even make it to the end of this. So obviously, I am not going to be laying down for this because I'm sitting at my desk. But if you are doing this on your own, definitely feel free to lay down or sit down, again, a nice comfortable position. And we're going to start with some slow, deep breaths, just in through the nose and out through the mouth, starting to become aware of our body and thinking about maybe where we're holding tension or where we have some pain. And we're going to start with our toes. So we're going to lift our toes up, really feel that tension, and then we're going to let it go. Now we're going to pull our toes down, we're going to hold the squeeze, and we're going to let it go. Next, we're going to move up to our calf muscles. We're going to squeeze those nice and strong, and then let it go. I'm holding the squeeze for maybe 3 seconds each. You can go longer or shorter as needed. We're going to squeeze our knees in toward each other, squeeze, 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 and then we're going to let it go. Next, we're going to squeeze our thigh muscles, holding, holding, and then letting it go. Moving into our hands. They might be in our lap right now, clenching your hands, squeezing, and then letting it go. Tensing your arms, holding, then letting it go. Squeezing your butt, squeeze, squeeze, then let it go. Moving up to your abdominal muscles, squeezing, holding, and then letting them go. Inhaling big, tightening your chest, holding, and then exhale to let it go. Moving up to your shoulders, we're raising those up to our ears, feeling the tightness, the tension, and then we're letting it go. Pursing your lips together, like you're blowing out birthday candles, holding it, and then releasing it. Opening your mouth wide. Sometimes I even have people do a yawn because that will really help open and relax the back of your throat. So you can try that. So yawning and then letting it go. Next, you might close your eyes tight, just squeeze and then let it go. Lifting your eyebrows up, holding, and then releasing. So this is one example of the progressive muscle relaxation. You can probably find a lot of different versions online. You also probably could find a lot of videos on YouTube for free of people doing this. If you like having someone kind of walk you through, that would be my recommendation. You could definitely look that up and again, kind of implement that. The last kind of relaxation technique that I'm going to talk about today is the meditation or the guided imagery. This is nice because it can literally be done anywhere. So if you are at work, if you are in the car, maybe don't close your eyes, but you can definitely do some meditation. If you are at home and your kids are yelling at each other because they've been cooped up all winter break, this one would be great to do. And again, it's just about being present. So when we think about meditation, a lot of people get kind of, nervous, or they feel like, well, I can't do that because I'm just not that kind of a person. It's not for me. It's for, Zen people on a mountaintop. But really, honestly, anybody can do meditation. And it's really just, it comes down to being present in your body and feeling what you're feeling in that moment. A lot of times people like to use kind of a mantra. So things like, I am safe. I am doing my best with what I have. Anything that's going to help give you that positive purpose. And that goes back to that self-talk. So you're going to do this by sitting again or lying down in a quiet, comfortable area. And if you are able to, close your eyes and take several deep breaths in and out. You'll notice that breathing pops up a lot when we think about relaxation and different techniques. Almost every single one will start you with breathing. So if we're doing guided imagery, you are going to imagine a peaceful scene, something that really brings you a lot of peace and happiness. You might think of a forest or a mountain range or a tropical beach. That sounds amazing to me right now, so I think I'm going to be going to the beach in my mind. Just something preferably in nature that makes you feel relaxed. And you are going to kind of walk through that scene in as much detail as you can, and kind of like to think about going through all of your senses. So what do you hear in your scene? Maybe if you're at the ocean, you hear the waves, you hear birds, gulls chirping. What do you smell? What do you feel? Maybe you feel the heat of the sun or the touch of the sand on your feet. And just really being present in this peaceful, calming place. You might also envision a path in your scene, and you picture yourself walking along the path. Again, thinking about all the details that you're coming across as you walk through this path. And you can stay in this relaxing scene for several minutes, continuing to breathe deep. After 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you have time for, kind of counting to 3, opening your eyes, being present in the moment, and seeing how your body has changed. Are you feeling more relaxed? Are you squeezing or tightening your muscles less? How's your breathing? So just checking in with yourself. So again, I would say if you don't feel comfortable walking yourself through this kind of guided imagery, there's lots of resources online that you could use. There is also a plethora of resources on our phones. So various apps and programs that people can use. Some of them cost money, some of them are free. A lot of them, like for example, the Calm app, have a free portion, and then you can decide if you like it or not, and then you can pay for maybe what you want. Each of them typically have different videos that you can follow along with, maybe some different readings, different sounds that you can listen to help you. So I would encourage you, especially if you are new to this and you feel like you just need some guidance, finding a program that you could use that will help you to just kind of implement these types of techniques and seeing what really resonates with you. Okay, so just to recap, not all stress is bad. A lot of times when we think about stress, we just kind of classify it all as bad, but it's really not. It can be helpful, and it is a kind of feature that we have evolved, in evolution to help keep us safe. But when stress is chronic, it does have the potential to impact both body and brain systems. We know that stress impacts men and women differently, so we need to approach stress differently. Stress does not cause dementia, but it might be a factor in developing dementia or worsening dementia if you already have a diagnosis. And there are many, many ways that we can manage stress, and it's never too late to start. So kind of brainstorming, maybe thinking, implementing some of these techniques today. So I want to end with a short video, a short clip. And this, again, is talking a lot about stress and maybe how we can reframe our mindset when we are, faced with those stressful situations. So let me start this.
Like that, I tried dealing with it internally. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful slide. When followed in life, I guarantee you, life will be different. I guarantee you, if this is applied in life, we can have peaceful night's sleep. Here it is. Do you have a problem in life? No? Then why worry? Do you have a problem in life? Yes. Can you do something about it? Yes. Then why worry? Do you have a problem in life? Yes. Can you do something about it? No. Then why worry? Isn't it? Is it not? Why worry? क्यों हम लोग चिंता कर रहे हैं? Why are we constantly bogging our minds down with anxiety that is just absolutely not allowing us to have peace of mind?
So I
Like that.
I love that because I think it's a good reminder for all of us. If only it was that easy just to say, well, why worry? I'm not going to worry anymore. I don't think that's possible, but just keeping in mind, again, that we are going to have stress in our life. It is going to impact us. So doing the things we can do to minimize or decrease that stress. So thinking about one thing this week that you are going to do to try to decrease your stress. Maybe you're going to do those deep breathing techniques. Maybe you're going to pay more attention to your sleep. Maybe you're going to try to get some exercise, or you're going to try to go out and do things that bring you joy. Socialize with others, make those connections, or share your experience, that it's not just on you. But think about what you can do each day that's going to help minimize your stress, and your brain will definitely thank you for it. So with that, I will share my contact information. If anyone has questions, you can certainly ask them now, or you can feel free to reach out to me later, and I would be happy to address them.
Why worry?
Why worry?
That's why worry.
I just love that.
Thank you. Kurt said thank you and great presentation. Thank you guys for joining us. A couple of things that I had a little note. The mind sweep. I've never thought of that or heard of that, and I think that would be very helpful, especially for me, because there might be a lot of things on there. Some of them are more important than others. but just to kind of strategically say, okay, this one I can knock off real easy, or that is not going to be fixed today, right?
Right, right. I went through a program called Getting Things Done, and it talked all about different strategies, and that was one of them. And they had us do it in the class, and I think we were given like 5 to 10 minutes, and most of us had close to 100 things listed. I mean, when you really get down to it, like all those little nitty gritty things that are just taking up a piece of your mind. And when you write it down, you're not supposed to write it down with any, agenda or judgment. You just get it out. And then afterwards, you can sit down and reflect on it and say, is this something that I can take care of? Is this something that has to do with work? Is it something to do with home? You can start to organize those topics. And one of the things that they also taught us, which I'll share really quick because I thought that it was really helpful for me, is the 2-minute rule. So if you have something on your list and it's going to take you 2 minutes or less, just do it. Get it done. If it's going to take you longer than 2 minutes, then you need to be strategic about, okay, when am I going to take care of this? So again, you don't kind of get bogged down. It'll help keep you moving forward.
Just knock them out.
Yeah.
Just
2 minutes.
finding the motivation to do all that. That's my
Right.
Heart health equals brain health. I'm going to start using that. I do
Yeah.
a lot of education in the community, and we talk a lot about heart health. And then my brain aspect always comes kind of from Stephanie, but I like that. That's a good combination and way to think
Yes.
about it, because those vessels go from your heart, both places to your brain.
Yep.
You did touch on two things that I wanted to give you guys that are watching today some future resources for. The Mind Diet. One of our great dietitians, Lindsay, she has a presentation on our YouTube channel for the Mind Diet. So go check that out if that's something you're interested in. Also, sleep. We talked a lot about sleep today. One of my friends that I work with here in community health, Michelle, has a great presentation called Sleep is a Superpower. That's also on our YouTube channel. So go check that one out too. There's a lot of other stuff there too. There's a lot of Stephanie stuff on there. Nutrition, exercise, all kinds of things. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes, thanks. And everyone have a very peaceful and relaxing day.
I hope y'all are a little more chill. I feel a little bit more chill. All right. Don't worry. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.
Bye.